Welcome. Is anybody new here tonight to Natur-Tyme? Are you guys shoppers? Okay. You're new? Okay. Well, welcome. I am Laurel Sterling. I'm the registered dietitian at Natur-Tyme. And I do a lot of these lectures for the community. And it was interesting, this topic isn't a popular one. We had a session this morning and absolutely no one showed up at all. So I thought, okay, that's a telling tale of some sort. But I'm glad that you came tonight. And I do have a lot of information in here. And what I typically do is I go through the presentation, and if you have questions throughout, don't wait until the end, because I tend to overjam a lot of information into a short time frame. So it's hard to remember everything by the end of it and say, I remembered you spoke about something, so just ask throughout. I also do individual consults as well, and it's a free service of the store. It's not just a one-time deal. It's unending. So if anybody wants something, if they want to talk more personally, in my office, you can schedule that at the desk out there. So I'm going to start. And this isn't the greatest slide to start with, but it kind of leads up to what I'm trying to look into. I know. Well, I took out all the other ones. It was like the top 10 in there, and I just put on the few that I was going to touch upon. And so these were some from the 2011, the CDC's percentages that they found as far as heart disease, cancer, stroke, and diabetes. And why do you want to make these lifestyle changes? 91% of diabetes cases could be prevented by adopting healthier habits and lifestyle. So they start looking at that first. Doctors should really go to those before going straight to medications, especially when the National Institute of Health found that they recommended as a first-line therapy to go to dietary and exercise for heart disease, stroke, diabetes, cancers, arthritis, osteoporosis, Alzheimer's, and others, before just writing out a script, which is the typical MO, and they'll just say, well, this, and then, yes. Good. Right. That was probably at least about 2 or 3 years ago or so. So, I mean, it should be more, it should be more the mainstream now, but I find that that's not the typical. It depends on the type of doctor that you go to. And we actually have lists out there at the desk where we have we've accumulated from ourselves or clients that come in and say, yes, this doctor recommended coming in for probiotics and for vitamin D and calcium, and they really like to not put me on meds first for cholesterol or diabetes. And so we just say, oh, that's great. And so we write these names down, and then we give them out to people just as recommendations. So we do have those. And I found on that list, some are more open than others. Others have come back and said to me, oh, no, that really wasn't a good doctor. And I'll say, okay, well, I just had this recommendation off the list, so I don't. So I do know of some, and I've marked them on my list. So if you are really specific on a certain one that you need to see, I can recommend that. So top health concerns for men, and this is what I'm going to be going over pretty much, the heart disease. And if you did come to my cholesterol talk, anybody? Were you here, Marilyn, for that one? No? Okay, because I used a lot of the slides for that on the cholesterol part of it for heart disease. But blood pressure, stroke, diabetes, weight issues, stress, depression, sleep issues, and a lot of the male reproductive fertility, libido, testosterone, erectile dysfunction, and the prostate enlarged, and prostate cancer. So like I said, there's a lot I'm jamming in tonight. So don't you want to feel, you can live life to the fullest for as long as possible? I say this in a lot of my talks, and I use this slide throughout most of them because I have longevity in my family. My great-grandparents, I knew them very well, and they were, one of them was 100 when she passed away, the other two 99 and 94. And so I actually strive, my grandmother this year is going to be 90, so I strive for that, and to live it as long and as healthy as possible. So I think that's a lot of our goals. So first I'm going to talk a little bit about inflammation, which leads into a lot of our health issues. The underlying basis of disease is the dis-ease of the body, and inflammation is usually a big culprit. So it's a precursor to major health conditions like arthritis, cancer, heart disease, diabetes. I just highlighted those because those are more of what I'm going to be talking about tonight. Ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, Alzheimer's, and other autoimmune psoriasis, eczema, skin conditions. So we are in inflammation overload. We are living in an inflammation nation, okay? What are causes of inflammation? Well, chronic inflammation begins at the cellular level, and it's often due to free radicals. And so free radicals can come from foods, they can come from smoking, pollution, high acidic foods, sugar, trans fats, and also stress. Also your high omega-6 to 3 ratio. So typically when you're going out to eat, when they're cooking with those oils that they use, they're typically higher in omega-6s. So they're corn oils and safflower oils and peanut oils, but they're not very high in the omega-3s, if at all. So that's why we really need to ramp up the omega-3s in our diet to offset that. And also trans fats, what they do, they're manufactured in a lab. They're fats that are typically at room temperature, like a palm oil or a coconut oil. Normally, they would get liquid, but what they do is they infuse an extra hydrogen in there so it actually becomes solid at room temperature, so it'll keep that Twinkie or piece of bread or whatever it is longer on the shelf and on your counters, but it also stays longer in our bodies, and your body doesn't know how to break it down. So they make the cells crustier, and what the free radicals do is it basically it's a rusting of the cells. It's oxidizing the cells. So these are not good things, obviously. So through a combination of diet, lifestyle, and dietary supplements, we can reduce that damage. Other contributors to inflammation, overweight, so pressure put on by weight-bearing joints, which increases the pain. I already mentioned some of the oils, like soy and corn oils, on top of, yes. Yes. So soy, I was just going to get into that. Soy and corn are the top crops that are genetically modified. They're 98, one's 88%, one's 94%, and it may be higher now as far as genetic modification. Soy on top of it is estrogenic. Do we need more estrogens? Because we live in a sea of estrogens coming in from the paint fumes and insecticides and the meats from the hormones and dairy. So this is one of the things I talk about with the testosterone. I was listening to something, John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. You can go on there, and he's got tons of video blogs that you can listen to, and he's gotten into a lot of supplements with his clients. And he was mentioning men now have the levels of testosterone. A man at 40 has the level of testosterone, how is this? Yeah. As someone in their 70s. So it's completely decreased. So too much estrogen in the body is going to drive down the testosterone, okay? And that's where we're getting it from, a lot of different things in our foods and the environments and whatnot. He said, and this has been since like 40 years ago, so it's dropped a lot. So the soy is estrogenic. One, that's not very good. Two, the countries that eat a lot of soy, it's a fermented, non-genetically modified soy. So they eat miso, they eat tempeh, natto, things that we don't eat that's not fermented. So you don't really want to have soy in your diet unless it's fermented and organic. Food allergies also can cause inflammation, underlying ones you may know or you may not know that you have. So you're looking at dairy, refined sugar, citrus, nightshades. I didn't ask, do you want me to turn the light off back there so it's easier for you to see? Are you sure? How about anybody else? Because I can make it darker. No? Okay. So cholesterol, I'm going to get into cholesterol now. Cholesterol's biggest culprit we're finding, inflammation of the arteries and a high triglyceride to HDL ratio. They're now seeing in studies, I'll show you that in 2 more slides. So cholesterol's function, did you have a question? Okay. So cholesterol's function is very important. Your brain is made of cholesterol. It makes the myelin sheath that encoats your nerves. The basis of all of your sex and other adrenal hormones is cholesterol. So when they try to bring your cholesterol down so low, a lot of neurological issues and a lot of hormonal issues and imbalances come up. I've had someone come in a gentleman came in years ago, and he said, oh, my cholesterol is like 120 total. And I said, oh, my gosh, that's insanely low. And he said, yeah, well, I'm on a statin of some sort. And he said, and they want to keep it even lower. And I said, that's crazy. That's crazy. Because what your body's going to do, as it says here, is your body's going to try to make up that difference there. When following a low cholesterol diet, your liver makes up the difference by producing more cholesterol just to be sure you have enough. And you're then going to have all these other neurological and sexual whatever issues because your cholesterol is so low. So there's this balance. We need to find a balance here. Your liver alone produces 2,000 milligrams of cholesterol, yes. Yep. Okay. So a study published in Circulation in '97 shows the result of a Harvard-led research indicating 25% of the population with the highest triglycerides to HDL ratio had 16 times more heart-related events than 25% whose ratios were the lowest. So this was a big thing. So when I have people come in and they say, well, my doctor wants me on this script, I'll look at their triglyceride to HDL ratio and see if that's really offset so much that we really need to look at and say, like I had one woman in today, and she said, the doctor wants me on a script. And I said, okay, well, let me look at your ratios. And I looked at the HDL to total, and then I looked at the triglycerides to HDL. And I remember that 2-to-1 ratio I said? Triglycerides should be about like maybe 150, and the HDL should be about 75. That's what it should be as a 2-to-1 ratio. Hers was a 7-to-1 ratio. And I said, yeah, that's really, we got to get, her HDL was 40, so that was really low, and her triglycerides were 250 instead of below the 120, 130 or so. So I said, we really got to shift that. So we were working on a dietarian with some supplements. High triglycerides comes from excess starch and sugars in the diet, as well as some of the excess fats. Now, further lab work we really need to look at, because you can't just look at those few cholesterol levels, the total, the HDL, the VLDL, and the triglycerides. You also need to look at the lipoprotein A, which this is a sticky part of the LDL, considered a higher risk factor than even your LDL. Now, this is something I would tell someone to go in who's already got cholesterol issues and heart disease and in the family. I'd say, see if your insurance would cover this and the doctors would check further on this, because that would, merit them looking further into those. Homocysteine, which is a harsh oxidant. Remember, that was relating to the inflammation. C-reactive protein, it's a sign of inflammation in the arteries. And fibrinogen, which is a clotting indicator. So if any of those are also off with cholesterol, you need to look at these further. Yes? Uh-huh. The lipoprotein? Well, I don't know if it's lipoprotein, but something sticky. In other words, cholesterol I just float around in your veins and all that bad. Right. When something sticks to the vein. Right. And some of these probiotics make that sticky thing. They turn, and the thing you need it. The thing that they turn into the bad stuff, you need that thing, whatever that. Because typically probiotics help metabolize cholesterol and harmful estrogens. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm not saying they're all bad. I still take them. Well, we can't win. Shocking. They haven't figured it out yet. Huh. Brain does this. Oh. Huh. Good for it, the nutrient that turned into something. Like K? It'd be menaquinone, which is K, or any of those nattokinase, which is from soy. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, and the thing is when you isolate things, you have to be careful too, because isolates are not what nature is actually about. We're about, like when we talk about monocultures too, that are out there, seeds of cows, pig farms, it's throwing off all sorts of things in the environment. It's creating superbugs, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, yeah, I don't know what one exactly you're talking about. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I haven't seen anything, but that's interesting. Go ahead. Yeah. Right. 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 Yeah. Probably the VLDL or the lipo. Mhm. Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Like I said, there's a lot more to look at. These are just some of the things now, but yeah, there's a lot more out there beyond just the. Oh, your cholesterol. Do you want me to go back? Yes, it's not typical ones that you would get. The others would be the top ones, but no, not the other. And again, I don't know if insurances all cover. You typically would ask them to find out. First, the doctor would have to agree. Then, secondly, you have to find out if the insurance would cover. Because usually they would have to have merit to kind of cover it. So these are just some recommendations. This creeps up again later when I'm talking about some mental health issues. But for cardiovascular, 1 to 2 grams a day of EPA DHA. That's not just when it says fish oil. That means you have to have 1 gram, 500 milligrams of EPA and 500 of DHA, or some semblance of that. And, you know, typically you want to have higher EPA if it's a cardiovascular issue. So you want to have like 800 to 200 of DHA. When you're looking at brain, mental functions, like when I'm talking about prenatal or for children or for mental issues, look at that. There's 2 to 10 grams. That's a lot. A lot of people, I don't know if their bowels can tolerate that much, but it's got to be higher on the DHA when it's dealing with the brain and the eyes and the mood and memory, things like that. It's higher DHA. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about a few of the things that can help out with cholesterol. CoQ10. So statins actually interfere with the ability of the body to make CoQ10. And usually a lot of people will complain of the muscle aches, soreness, and whatnot, and that's usually what the CoQ10 is being depleted of in the muscle cells. So it also, when you look at statins too, they create muscle atrophy as well, and neuropathy and cognitive decline. So there's more reasons for you to go look at. The CoQ10 is a very important antioxidant concentrated in the heart cells, but it's all throughout in all the skeletal muscle cells as well. But it's very concentrated in the heart, in the mitochondria. If the heart cell, it might have 100 of these CoQ10s, but in the skeletal muscle, it might be 1 in there. So it's very important, and you don't want it to be blocked because as we age, it just naturally drops off. But this is blocking its even production of it. So it helps lower lipoprotein A, increases energy, improves circulation, and helps with arrhythmias as well. There was a 6-year study at the University of Texas. Individuals with congestive heart failure who were given CoQ10 had a 75% survival rate compared to only 25% in a placebo group. So that's how important CoQ10 is. Yeah, a sugar pill. Increasing HDL, your omega-3s increase HDL. Polycosanol, which is a sugarcane wax that actually makes the arteries, veins, the blood vessels more slippery, so so it can't create more plaque along there. But this also helps increase HDL. Vitamin E, magnesium, carnitine, astaxanthin. They found 6 milligrams increased HDL by 5 points in a 3-month study. Keeping your blood sugars below 90, and exercise increases HDL as well. So again, before you take any of these supplements, you need to, meet with me, talk to me about if you're on medications, so I can look at any contraindications, not to just take them willy-nilly. So you need to know the doses in milligrams and if they interact. To reduce triglycerides, reduce fat and sugar in the diet, incorporating more omega-3s like fish, salmon, walnuts, macadamia, almonds, flax, chia. Magnesium also lowers triglycerides. Carnitine, which is an amino acid, and lipase, which actually, taken between meals, it helps eat away at the plaque, whereas if you took it with your food, it would just digest fat. Okay, so and I actually use a lot of macadamia nut oil on my sprouted toast in the morning when I'm cooking up my eggs, and my cholesterol level a few years back was 220 or so, and she circled it, and I said, did you look at the rest of my levels here? Because my HDL was 118, and the normal range is 40 to 80, and it was 118. And I said, yeah, it's probably because I'm taking in a lot of good fats. So since then, I had decreased that amount, so my cholesterol came down to 154, but now it's actually up to, I just had it done, and it was up to 195 or so. But the ratios still put me in this very, very protective ratio because of my HDL was upwards to 90 or something like that. So that's what you really have to look at. My triglycerides were very low. Lipoprotein A, the sticky part, to reduce that. Natto-kinase, which is an enzyme made from natto, which is your soy. It helps break down any fibrous, clotty things in the body. So some people actually have been known to come in and, if this is kind of rare, but working with their doctors, if they were on some kind of a blood thinner and they wanted something more natural, if their doctor okays it, they would go towards something like this. Or if they naturally do have clotting issues, they would take something like this. Antioxidants help out with the lipoprotein A, CoQ10, carnitine again, and N-acetylcysteine. And homocysteine, that inflammation part, B6, B12, folic acid, and TMG, actually the tri of all those, well, the quad now. But typically B6, B12, folic acid help decrease inflammation in the body. And throwing in that trimethylglycine, which is an amino too, that helps out with bringing it down. CRP, in an 8-year study at Harvard and Brigham University, women with high CRP and a low LDL were still at higher risk for heart disease. So even though the LDL was low, their CRP was high, they had that risk there. So to decrease your CRP, antioxidants, again, your CoQ10, your resveratrol from the red wine, not the red wine, but the extract from it. Yes. Yeah, that would probably be, yep, that would actually be helpful too, to bring down, the inflammation in between the meals. If you take it with your food, it just digests the food, but between meals, typically they will help. Eating the ACEs, which is ACE, also green tea, high antioxidant foods, soluble fiber, which binds up cholesterol to help, and it scrapes it out. Avoiding trans fat and high polyunsaturated fats like soybean, and there's your soy and corn again. And eggs are okay. Yay, I eat 2 eggs a day all the time. If not for breakfast, for dinner, or some semblance of there. And I eat organic eggs, though, because I want to make sure that they're fed flax seeds and good grains, so that egg is not inflammatory, because it goes all the way back to what they're fed, and the products of it, which is their meat or their milk or their eggs, are going to be inflammatory with what they eat. So research shows that there is absolutely no connection between eating eggs and the risk of heart disease or stroke in either men or women. And there was a 20-year-long study on this with all ages, all ranges, men, women, and there was no correlation. Because egg has natural lecithin in there to help emulsify the fats. And again, we weren't talking about dietary, we're talking about how your body is excreting, what's going on in the liver, what's going on through the rest of the body is an issue. Fibrinogen, elevated levels puts one at higher risk of a stroke. So smoking, stress, obesity, aging, to decrease this fibrinogen, to break up that fibrin. The natto-kinase again, which is that enzyme from the soy. Serrapeptase, which this is pretty cool. This is it was first isolated from the silkworm. What they secrete to dissolve the cocoon. So this actually helps break apart and decrease the fibrous tissue as well. Fish oil, vitamin E, and magnesium also decreases clotting. So now we're on to blood pressure. Hypertension is one of the leading causes of death due to stroke, heart attack, and kidney failure. So foods that can assist with blood pressure, the ratio of sodium to potassium is more important than just a low sodium diet. Eating foods high in potassium may lower blood pressure and reduce risk of stroke more than half. Potassium-rich foods include apricots, bananas, cantaloupe, date, asparagus, green beans, and there's more. But if you're on a potassium-sparing diuretic, you have to be careful with that. Okay, again, that's where I would have to look at your medication. Consult with your physician before supplementing with potassium because you may increase too much of that and throw off the electrolyte balance in the body. Supplements to assist in lowering blood pressure. I didn't go through this one on each slide or else it would have been a 3-hour talk. So magnesium. I'm actually next month talking all about the miracles of magnesium and how that plays a huge role in the body in so many ways. So magnesium and taurate especially because taurine is very helpful for strengthening the heart muscle. Arginine, CoQ10 again, that lowers blood pressure. Garlic, Coleus forscoli, hawthorn, fish oil, hibiscus tea. So there are combinations out there or there's singles. Again, depending on what you need, I would kind of direct you towards what specifically with your issues. Stroke. Causes, 80% of caused by clots in the arteries of the brain, 20% caused by hemorrhages. Risk factors, diabetes, hypertension, atherosclerosis, smoking, excessive alcohol consumption, and lack of exercise. Indications would be sudden numbness or paralysis, blurred vision, loss of speech, dizziness, headache. So important supplements, again, you're seeing a trend with a lot of these are creeping up again. The nattokinase helps break up the clots. Fish oils. Helps with thinning of the blood. Grapeseed extract strengthens the blood vessels. Copper, low levels are more, they're seeing lower levels. People are more prone to strokes in particular. I don't know why with the copper, but as far as diabetes, insulin resistance, known to cause atherosclerotic lesions, so that's helping push along more of the cholesterol and blood pressure stroke issues. Vasoconstriction, increasing risk of blood clotting leading to strokes. Keeping your low diet and sugar, white flour, white rice, refined carbohydrates, keeping your carbs down to like 100. Not a lot of people know that carbs are also, outside of these, what else are considered carbohydrates? I'm testing you now. Yay, ding, ding, you get a prize. So your fruits and vegetables are also carbohydrates. So it's not that it's exactly the same, like an apple is not the same as a slice of bread as far as digestion because it has more fiber in there, but all these break down to sugar. So if there is a diabetic issue, you have to be careful with all the areas of where the sugar's coming in. So breakfast is a good example for someone that's either trying to lose weight or watch themselves with diabetes. Smoothie with fruit, yogurt, and flax. So basically it's small meals throughout the day with a combination of protein, carb, and fat within each. So you're regulating your blood sugar. So have any of you had a bagel in the morning or a donut and then crashed within about 20 minutes? And why is that? Because it's refined carbohydrates and it gives you a little bit of that jolt and then you come crashing down after that. So what would happen if you put some peanut butter on that bagel? It would sustain you longer. It even happens with an apple. If I eat an apple, 20 minutes later, I'm just thinking, did I eat anything? Because it doesn't feel like there's anything in there. But if I have some almond butter with it, that can sustain me for a good 4 hours because it's got the fat in there that helps keep you feel satiated longer. I mean, it's volume as well as fat. Fat's the last thing to leave the stomach. So an apple with nut butter. Lunch would be a salad with making sure you're having something like feta cheese, turkey, sunflower seeds with some protein, the chickpeas. Again, a snack pair with some raw almonds or walnuts. Dinner would be a small amount of of pasta with seafood and cheese and some veggies, and always a little bit of chocolate. That's a good thing. So supplements for weight reduction, there's a lot of these here. Depending on what actually is going on in the body, if it's related to stress, I would go towards some of the cortisol-reducing ones. If it's a blood sugar imbalance, I would address some of those. If you feel like you're not feeling satisfied, I would look at the fiber aspect of it and tell you to have some more fiber in there. And exercise, we know how important that is for all of our organs, the circulatory system, the lymph system, which doesn't move very well on its own, so exercise helps with that. Important for the bones, puts the stressor on the bones, and it starts to stimulate laying down more bone. So trying to do a small amount, at least my goal would be usually about 4 times a week, at least a good 40-minute regime. But if you have health issues, you have to slowly work into it and work with whatever your physical therapist or doctor says. And don't do too much because that can create inflammation. I mean, look at like Lance Armstrong and these others with prostate and all these other cancers that are athletes. I'm not saying that's exactly what it is, but when you're throwing yourself in too much of an acidic environment, creating a lot of lactic acid, then that's like any of these extremes. Nature's going to come back in and try to rebalance instead of have extremes. Right. Coffee, okay. Coffee, first of all, is acidic. And then you look at how it's processed. And there's a lot of chemicals put in there. And then if you go decaf, there's even more chemicals put into that. Okay? So then you have to look at the volume of coffee that you're having. Is it one, they found studies that said that 1 cup a day, I'm talking, 8-ounce cup, is okay. It actually had lots of benefits. I mean, they use caffeine, and I'm not talking coffee in particular, but use caffeine helping stimulate for people with ADD and other issues, that it actually was very beneficial for them. To use the frontal lobe and whatever, stimulating dopamine in the brain. But again, moderation, and try to have it be like a Swiss processed coffee, something that's not very acidic, it doesn't have a lot of processing. And there's lower acidic coffees that we do have out there too. I drink Ticino. Has anybody tried that? Did you like it? Yeah, see, I'm not a diehard. See, I drink the Ticino and I love it. It's actually an herbal coffee made from chicory root and barley and carob, and they have different flavors. And it's non-acidic. It doesn't have caffeine. It's just naturally got nutrients in there to kind of help with the, energy issue. But it's something that I've never been a real diehard coffee drinker, so I love it. But if you're switching over, again, it's everybody's different palate. Some people like it, some don't. So, yes. Yep, and I do. Yeah, no. Yeah, and yes, and I work with people on that too, with pH balancing. You can do it through dietary. I have charts, or you can. Some people simply add trace minerals or baking soda every day into their water. There's different ways that you can do it. There are drops out there that will alkalize, and you can test it if you want to. But that's just one of the factors. One of the factors that creates more of the inflammation in the body. Stress. Does anybody have stress here? Or should I say anybody not have stress? Okay, yeah. So, look like any of these here with the stress cascade. The stress will what? Kill, right? Because it's creating such an environment in the body that throws off so many hormones, okay? Basically, in a nutshell, the hypothalamus in the brain signals the pituitary, which increases your ACTH hormone, that signals the adrenals that sit on top of your kidneys to actually release the stress hormone cortisol and cortisone. So what is it? It's telling your body, I got to run or fight. All right? That's all I have to do. The digestion shuts down, reproduction shuts down, because you don't need to do that. You need to just run or fight. And so initially, this is a good thing. It's a protective thing from nature, right? Someone's running after you, you're stuck in a tree for days, or an animal comes after you, you're in a cave for days. You know, it's a good thing because cortisol actually increases your fat storing ability, and so that's a survival mode. However, done long term, this stress that is weeks to months to years, it slowly creates this pro-inflammatory state. And it triggers the body to excrete a lot of amino acids and many minerals and electrolytes, which are the base of your body. Your body's 70% mineral water. So it's excreting these at these incredible volumes that you can't keep up with. And do you tend to eat well when you're stressed? Do you go for the best foods? Do you go for, you know, typically people go for carbs, pizzas, breads, baked goods, alcohol, whatever. So you typically don't eat well when you're stressed. Some people don't eat at all when they're stressed. Some people overeat. You go for comfort foods because you're trying to get that rush to the brain for that feel good, okay? So, again, this is good temporarily, but not for long term. So stress reduction, there's a lot of things to do, obviously. Going for a walk, listening to music, meditating, deep breathing. I was actually, did anybody come to our, the talk that was at Drumlin's on sleep? One of the speakers was talking about how he had a woman come in, her blood pressure, she had never had a problem in her life, but she just left the doctor's and it was like 210 over 190 or something crazy. And he said, you have to go on a script right now. And so she came rushing in and said, I need to see this doctor. And he's a naturopathic doctor in Arizona that was speaking. And so he took her in and he took her blood pressure. He said, sure enough, that's what it was. And so he talked to her a little bit more, then kind of had her explain her issue, and her blood pressure went down a little bit to maybe like went down to like 170 over, still was pretty high, 170 over 120 or something like that. And so lo and behold, he finds out, the stress that's going on, and works with her with this protocol of just some supplements and also breathing. Because as you notice, I notice this when I'm driving, I'm just, and then it's diaphragmatic. You're just breathing right up here, right up here, right up here. You're not breathing down here. Like babies naturally just, their stomach goes out. That's diaphragmatic breathing. So he had her do every hour on the top of the hour, 5 minutes of this diaphragmatic breathing. And with that, and with some supplements, it brought her blood pressure down to like 120 over 80, and it was perfect. She never had to go on any medications at all. So a lot of times we dismiss this, just like drinking water. We're not thinking about our thirst mechanism. Deep breathing. I mean, if you're stressed and in line, what's the easiest thing to do? Take a breath in. It's very cleansing. It's very detoxifying. Same thing when you're driving. So supplements for stress. One of the bigger things that I start out with are your minerals, magnesium, and I am a huge proponent of, again, I'm talking next month on magnesium. And I have my own personal story about how it's really helped me out. And that was like one of the last supplements that I went to, and it should have been one of the first ones. So now when I'm talking with clients, I typically go towards that first. So your body uses up a tremendous amount of magnesium, as well as Bs, as well as vitamin C when you're stressed out. It's just constantly. This is your adrenals using it. Because it's constantly trying to just replenish and say, come on, quiet down, relax. You can relax now. But your body doesn't. So it's using up. And then it starts pulling from stores from all over in the body. And then it just constantly depletes, and then you become chronic fatigue. And it just is this whole snowball effect. Theanine, which is isolated from green tea, actually helps out with the alpha waves in the brain for the calming. Phosphatidylserine, this is actually a component that's found in the cell membranes, and this actually helps out lower cortisol levels, your stressor hormone. Holy basil, another one that actually helps lower cortisol levels as well as sugar. When your cortisol is high, you tend to go towards more sugary products because it's saying, I need that sugar for my muscles to fight or run away. But you really don't. You're sitting, you're on the computer, you're driving and you're stressed, or you're on the phone and you're stressed, so you're not really running away. Ashwagandha, rhodiola, and maca, these are all called adaptogen herbs. They actually help in the body adaptogen herbs, they can grow and thrive in all different places, no matter what's thrown at them as far as temperature and climate. So within us, they do the same thing. It upregulates whatever hormones need to come up and brings down whatever needs to come down, so they balance. Verlora is a combination of magnolia and philodendron, and that actually helps out with decreasing stress and stress eating, they found as well. Mental health, there's a lot of issues that would go into this. Inherited deficiencies, prolonged stress, which is your adrenal burnout, uses up a lot of your natural sedatives, stimulants, and pain relievers. And prolonged stress. Okay, so I think I read that improperly. But anyway, using a lot of stimulants and pain relievers, that would also decrease and speed up deficiencies. Regular use of drug-like foods like sugars, flours, caffeine, you're looking for a stimulant. If you find that you're having a lot of salt, a lot of sugar, a lot of caffeine, nicotine, these are all things that you're trying to just constantly bring your adrenals up. But you know what they do? They, in essence, burn it out faster. You're not nourishing them, which is the B's nourish them. The C, the magnesiums nourish it. Too little protein, food allergies also, and toxins. So start by removing those toxic and stressful influences like the sugar, starches, caffeines, the trans fats, the synthetic chemicals, nicotine, and fuel the brain with your essential fatty acids. Those are the fish oils, proteins, calcium, magnesium, B's, chromium, selenium, zinc, and probiotics. Okay, so on this one, remember, cardiovascular was 1 to 2 grams. Well, this one here with mental, they've had studies with schizophrenics up to like 10 grams a day, being very beneficial with bipolar as well, almost as beneficial as those with Prozac and whatnot with the medications. So protein, very, very important. Tryptophan, which is made into 5-HTP, which is made then into serotonin and then converted into melatonin. Helps keep your nerves calm. It constructs and maintains a lot of your hormones as well. And tryptophan-rich foods, so if you're having trouble sleeping at night, have some pumpkin seeds. Actually, that was on Oz. Pumpkin seed oil. And you know what's great about pumpkin seeds? Great for the prostate, too. So it's high in zinc. Sunflower seeds, almonds, again, high in magnesium, also with protein. Your wild game, pork, beef, shrimp, chicken, turkey are rich in tryptophan, kelp, bananas, and milk. You know, that whole warm milk, that actually is, you know, because it's got the tryptophan in there. B complex, like I said, use up a lot of Bs. So Bs are very important in the functioning of the nervous system and for the brain performance. Calcium, vital in stimulating the activity of the brain neurons. It also needs helper vitamins and minerals to help with its absorption, like magnesium, vitamin D, strontium. Magnesium regulates more than 325 enzymes in the body. So fatigue, if you have fatigue, typically all these enzyme systems are under functioning. So you should look first at magnesium as one of the things to replenish. It helps keep adrenal stress hormones, as we already talked about, under control. And you find them in nuts and avocados and black beans, very rich in magnesium. Vitamin D3, this is very well huge, and it should be tested from all the doctors. It's considered a neurohormone, and it's incredibly important when you're looking at the prevention of all sorts of cancers. A lot of the estrogen and testosterone, where those receptor sites are very dependent on vitamin D. So at the very minimum, you should be getting about 1,000 of vitamin D3 and having it with food because it's a fat-soluble vitamin. If you're out in the sun a lot, it won't convert if you have sunscreen on. So if you're out there for like 15 minutes 3 times a week, you'll build up a store. But typically when you start hitting around December, January, February, if you're not taking some, your levels are just going to start plummeting. And that's when seasonal affective disorder starts coming to play. People get, January, February, March, we're just, because things start dropping. And it's very important for the building of all hormones in the body. So vitamin D is well undershot as far as its importance out there. So you need to make sure you get that tested yearly. And like I said, taking 1,000 is a minimum. In the winter, 2,000 is a minimum. And sometimes in the winter, I'll be taking 4,000 or 5,000 a day, especially if I'm sick. I'll take sometimes 10,000 for a short time, like a week or so, and then I bump it back down. Chromium, a mineral that eliminates sugar cravings. It improves blood sugar balance, relieves stress. It helps build muscles. It's found in all these different things, rices and beans and cheese. Selenium supports antioxidant defense, also helps with hormones, and this is very important with prostate cancer as well. Selenium is usually very low, and this is usually found in a lot of the formulas for prostate issues. And zinc also is another one, needed for many biochemical reactions, found to be deficient in people with depression and also learning problems. So this is also very important in your immune system, zinc. And if anybody's on proton pump inhibitors like Nexium, Prevacid, Prilosec, usually they deplete your B6, folic acid. Some of them deplete B12, as well as zinc and calcium and iron. The worst one I've seen is the Nexium, actually. That one depletes all those. So, other things, again, these are going to vary depending on what's going on within you. Why I would go towards lecithin, why would I go towards GABA, lithium orotate, SAMe, 5-HTP, and St. John's wort. These are all different ones that are options, and I won't go through all of them. But, again, it depends on what your issues are and what medications you might be on. Sleep. How important is sleep? Pretty important. How do you feel when you wake up and you've had a crappy night's sleep? You feel like you just want to go out and just, with the day? No. The National Institute of Health, again, reported that 50 to 70 million Americans are affected by some kind of sleep disorder. We just had that talk at Drumlin's, and it was just, I can't tell you how many hundreds of people were there, because it's a huge issue. Sleep, digestion, some of those are the top issues that we have. If an individual doesn't get enough quality sleep throughout the night, it can significantly affect their health. Sleep disorders have been linked to many chronic diseases such as hypertension, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, depression, and more. And we also detox when we sleep, and we repair when we sleep. So if we're not sleeping and getting into that restful sleep, then we can't repair and restore. So there's a lot of natural sleep aids. And again, like what I've learned from the Institute, it really varies person to person. So it's something, again, where it's on individuals to say, putting on your life. This is what supplements, what medicine you're taking. Let's look at what would be best for you. Magnesium is the number one that I would go towards. From there, calm. This actually brings the neurotransmitters in the brain down. There are amino acids that just kind of try to get the brain down and say, you can just relax and start to sleep. Magnesium does that. I found when I take magnesium and Avacom together, I'm just out. And with the magnesium, again, especially if I wake up at some point to either go to the bathroom or my dog wakes me or something, I'm actually able to sleep, whereas before taking magnesium, I would be up for a good solid 2 hours with my mind just, yes. For 2 hours. I take magnesium twice a day, in the morning and the evening. So it's best to take your minerals, they say, at nighttime, because that's the best absorption for the minerals. So closer to bedtime. Because, that would be good. Sound sleep, this is a lot of things in there for stress relation. Sleep tonight, same thing with the ashwagandha, theanine, and magnesium. That's all stress related. The revitalizing sleep, a lot of stuff in there related to stress. Some of these are only, like sound sleep, you can only take that a short term because that has valerian and kava kava. This is mostly because of the kava. It says on occasional use, not long term. Some of the others you can. Triple sleep, that's a very popular one that a lot of people find works very well. Melatonin, 5-HTP, and theanine in there works well for a lot of people. And pumpkin seed oil too. There, another. Oh, iodine is definitely very important, too, for a lot of the receptors. What were we talking in specific? Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Right. Mhm. Wow. Yep. Hmm. That's not typically the ones that I would go for. Well, I mean, iodine deficiency is related in a lot of things. It relates to your adrenals and your thyroid, which all goes in with sleep too. Uh-huh. So that, I'm sure, affected that and helped the adrenals with the sleep. Sure.
I've read a lot of places, no one really knows how much
To take.
iodine you should have.
Right.
And you probably all take way too little.
Right.
Body makes it.
Right. We probably take in way too little, yes.
You're probably going to have a woman at work. Well, I'm training today.
Did you not sleep well?
Well, for a while.
Oh.
She's had all kinds of some problems. I need an endocrinologist wanted to take synthetic iodine. She didn't do it. She went here, there, everywhere. Found somebody who could take
Kelp?
either
Kelp?
iodine or a precursor to iodine.
Kelp? Or kelp or something?
Precursor to that. And I read an article somewhere. She told me that this guy told her that the U.S. government is on this new kick that they think that some disease, the big one, forget about it, they think it's caused by too much iodine.
Mhm.
So if you notice in the store,
Mhm.
a lot of the salt does not have iodine in it. And the government's telling them they can't do it.
Right.
And according to her, and
I,
according to the guy she's talking with, well, hello, you know, Okinawa that have the highest iodine intake in the world, the healthiest cells, and not a single instance of the dreaded disease the FDA says
right.
comes because of iodine.
Right.
They're getting iodine out of our diet.
Right. Yeah, and I've had quite a few clients coming through that they were taking this mother and daughter, and they were complaining of all sorts of issues, and I said, that sounds like thyroid, and they went in, and sure enough, their thyroids were tanking, and they had very little, if any, iodine in their bodies. And she said, yeah, we would not use salt at all, because it was like salt's a bad thing, and so you took the salt out. She said we had the salted, the potatoes, salt potatoes. She said we would always throw that salt away or give it away or whatnot, and so now people are, scared of that. And I take a kelp capsule every day just because I want to get in some kind of iodine. I used to do some of the drops, but I find that for me, what really works, liquids, I tend to forget about them. So if I've got the pill right there, I've got them all laid out, and then I take it. So you got to do what works for you. But that's another one that's very important when they're looking at cancers. Iodine receptors, typically iodine's very, very low with those that have estrogen or progesterone or testosterone-related cancers and whatnot. So, I mean, it's not the testosterone. It's the testosterone's low and estrogen's high, and then there's cancers. But, vitamin D, selenium, zinc, iodine, those are all typically what you need to make sure that you have enough of when they're looking at a lot of cancers, too. Well, I don't know I haven't heard of it either. I don't. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Right. Right. Regular. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Because they were finding goiters and all that. Yeah, so they're trying to protect us, and now they're taking it back out for whatever. Well, I mean, and then to your comment of being surprised about the government. I mean, I'm just, all the stuff, the radiation, irradiation of all the things that have been going on since, and we don't know. And they're, the pink, what is that, the pink slime, and then the this, and then the that. The GMOs have been going on since the 80s that we didn't know about, and now there's all these diseases that are linking to that, and it's just the genetic. watch the movie called Genetic Roulette if you really want to get scared about things. It's all about, yeah. When the corn, see, I grew up on a farm, and they used to come and spray the fields, and they started saying, well, you know, we'll get the corn, the Roundup Ready corn. So it's, you get to see all these brightly colored, ooh, there's corn that's pink colored and bright orange, and it's got the chemicals that they dip in it. So when it grows, it's systemic throughout the entire plant. So it's when the insect lands on it, they eat it, and what does it do? It breaks open their stomach and kills them. So then they found the animals were then eating the corn. What would that do? Fertility, a lot of mastitis, a lot of mood issues. They actually slaughtered pigs that had a GMO diet and a non-GMO. The ones that had GMO had a fire red intestines, and then the others, it was just a nice pink colored. So then they were finding people that were eating, like I said, it's the food chain. Go back to where it's, so then you eat the product of the animal, whether it's their meat or the milk or the eggs, and then they are finding a higher occurrences of allergies and autoimmune and all sorts of ulcerative colitis, gut-related issues. See, gut, it's breaking open the gut of the insect, and it just continues. And I just aired that movie. Did anybody come see, I don't think anybody here saw The Vanishing of the Bees. Did you see that? So that was, they were talking about the sunflowers. They had the GMO sunflower that the bees were landing on, and then the non-GMO. The ones that landed on the GMO, normally that they would have this pattern that they actually collect the pollen, and then they clean themselves off and then move on. Well, they were landing on it, and the pollen was sticking on them. They couldn't function because whatever coming out of the seed there, it was screwing up their whole neurological system, and they would just fall off and die. And that's why these bees, they're vanishing. Where are they going? They're not coming back here and dying. They're not coming back because they can't find their way back. And so these GMOs they were finding were a huge link, and so now they're banning these, and they banned them over in France, and it's now, they've rebuilt everything as a result of it. But just over here, they're just starting that movement, but it's very resistant because it's so entrenched. And it's awful because it's not looking out for our benefits or the animals. And when the bees go for the pollination, that's a telling tale right there.
Yeah,
so. The pesticides. It's the pesticides. But they're looking at pesticides. Right. Mhm. Yeah, it was the ones dipped with the chemicals that grow. Yes, exactly.
I don't know anything about GMO stuff.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to have an open mind. I don't want to say everything automatic.
Right. Right.
But that's what I want to be specific. But if it's Roundup Ready, then there's something specific,
Yeah.
What's the sales? What's the
Insects, stomachs open. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Where's my? Oh. Right out that way.
The prostate call.
Yeah.
I'm at the prostate seminar. Where's the
It's right out that way.
There's
You'll see a big sign as soon as you come out, and you kind of go on around to the right over there. Okay. Yep, to the right. Yep. You're welcome. Okay. Yeah. But see that, because there's that whole. I talked to another guy who's a part-time farmer, and he just completely he says, I don't believe that, blah blah blah, and he's very open to stuff. And I said, well, I don't know. I disagree. Yeah. Yes. Well, watch that movie. That might enlighten you. Both those. You saw what? Oh, I don't know. Uh-huh. Oh. Mhm. I know my brother was the last one to sign off in the area because these poor farmers don't have a lot of money, so they came to them and they said, if you sign your rights off on this, then you get $15,000 whatever dollars. And so he was the last one. He said, I don't want to do this, but everybody else around the whole area where I live had signed their rights off.
I understand. Well, that's how corporations do it, because the corporation has money, the person doesn't.
Yeah.
So they can buy you off. But they had 5 people at the movie, but then the guy who made the movie was there.
Yeah.
They brought in people from Pennsylvania.
Mm.
It was their horror story.
Yeah.
The whole town in Pennsylvania had to move. It's small.
I know. There's yeas and nays on that. I know.
But the guy in Texas, he had to have a methane detector in his house. His greatest house was going to blow up. He was a multi-millionaire.
Mm.
He was bigger than this building.
Mm.
Huge house. Lovely house. Beautiful. He had to move. He needed it.
Mm. Yeah. I know. Well, then who's funding the study? Even when I'm out looking at all my information on the studies, you have to look at who's funding them and how long these are, and what. Again, I hear back and forth on all these too, so I know we could go on, and I don't want to keep. But thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, let's talk about fertility issues. Anybody here care about the fertility issues? Because I could bypass this if you no. So nobody here needs to hear. Okay. I'll just go past laptops and fertility. There's an issue there. BPA in your it's the lining of the cans and also in bottles and plastics and whatnot. They actually found that it destroys sperm, and they found over in China the workers exposed to a high amount of BPA exhibited a clear connection between even very low levels of BPA and sperm destruction. So that's just for anybody that's so the laptops and that's some. Also, there's a lot of other things, and I won't go further, with supplements and whatnot that can cause issues and things that will actually help if there are issues. Erectile dysfunction, this can be due to arteriosclerosis, metabolic syndrome, which is the high waist to hip ratio, so usually there's blood pressure, cholesterol, and blood sugar issues. Peripheral vascular disease, certain medications, alcohol, cigarettes, diabetes, or hypertension. And lack of desire may be the problem also, therefore loss of libido due to depression, illness, or meds can also be contributed to this. So I put a caution right up at the top because there are some of these that will interfere with medications, so you have to make sure that you check with us first, or doctors or pharmacists. Vinpocetine, this actually improves microcirculation. This is a flour. L-arginine, which is an amino acid, helps out with the expanding of it helps work with the nitrous oxide with the flow. Recent studies showed that acetyl L-carnitine, which is another amino, can help well with erectile dysfunction in those taking Viagra. Magnesium and zinc may be missing. Zinc and vitamin C help boost testosterone. Again, there's that. When there's too much estrogen dominance, then what goes down? Testosterone. Drive goes down. I actually was listening to John Gray. Again, he's the one that had some good videos on testosterone and all sorts of these issues. And he said that men actually need to sit and either focus on the TV or be, video or computer or whatever. Something, they have to go into that man cave. And that will increase testosterone levels because there is a stress relation in this too. Damiana, which is good for improving blood flow to the genital area. Yohimbe, this has got a caution here with blood pressure. It's said to expand blood vessels in the penis and increase blood flow. It may increase the nitrous oxide, which is important for producing an erection. So again, caution with heart disease, blood pressure, stomach ulcers, other issues. That one's got a big caution. The International Index of Erectile Function has found that some benefits come from pomegranate juice, and also including pumpkin seeds in the diet, zinc, and decreasing animal fats, fried foods, and sugars also, because that will affect with the blood flow. Testosterone and libido. Here again, some of the similar things. Arginine, tyrosine, amino acids that help out in increasing testosterone. Maca, which increases testosterone, and it's one of those herbs again that bring down estrogen and bring up testosterone. It would really help with sexual drive. They use it a lot. It's a Peruvian tuber, and they use it over there. It's primarily used for men for libido, but we found it's worked really well with women too because we found that it was an adapt. So it helps out with their libido too. It helps out with hot flashes and all sorts of things. Horn goatweed. But I was listening to the lecture by John Gray, and that was pretty funny. He said, yeah, they saw this herb that the goats were eating, and they were all over the place. And he said, but it was constantly making them horny. He said, so who wants to constantly be horny all the time because you can't really think about other things? So he said, I really don't use that very much. He likes to use some other things like this. He uses the, I don't know if I'm pronouncing them correctly, it's the Tonga Ali, which is, it's from Bangkok, and it helps increasing testosterone. He uses the Mura puanima also, which I don't know a lot about that one herb. And there's a lot of formulations out there too. The yohimbe, the tribulus, is a popular one. Chrysin increases free testosterone, available for the body to be used. Nettles, sarsaparilla, the melatonin make testosterone when you're rested. Like I was talking about that needing to go in that man cave. You really need to have that resting to increase the testosterone levels. Garlic also was found to increase the testosterone indirectly. So for enlarged prostate or high PSA levels, you have to look at vitamin D, vitamin K2, vitamin E, calcium, magnesium, selenium. You see a lot of these in formulations. Selenium, saw palmetto, nettles, pumpkin seed or pumpkin seed oil, lycopene from the tomatoes, and pygeum is another herb too. For prostate health, testosterone is metabolized in your body to DHT or dihydrotestosterone. Most experts believe that DHT is a major factor in the cause of less than optimal prostate health. The enzyme that's responsible for converting testosterone to DHT is called 5-alpha reductase. And to inhibit or slow this enzyme down, we could help support prostate health as DHT levels would be lower. So one of the plants that's pretty popular in a lot of the formulations is that saw palmetto, and this helps to inhibit that enzyme that we were talking about to convert. So also in prostate cancer, DIM, which is an end product from the cruciferous vegetables, helps detoxify harmful estrogens out of the body. Typically we see families that have prostate cancer and then the women have some sort of breast, ovarian, uterine cancer. It's the same genetic SNP misfire in the liver for excreting out those harmful estrogens. So they definitely see a link with that. So the DIM helps to drive in the good forms of the estrogen to drive it towards the 2-hydroxyestrone, which is the beneficial one. And the calcium D-glucarate is not an actual calcium for bone building. It's an actual calcium that helps block an enzyme that stops estrogen from excreting properly. So these two together are used for men with prostate issues, and I take those myself because I have endometriosis, and that's a misfire of estrogen excreting out of the body. So I take this stuff, and it's helped balance my hormones. And if I don't take it, there's a big difference. So men and women both take these as well. Green tea, too. Green tea across the board for cancer protection is being used in so many different studies now. So you'll find those in formulations. A few cups of green tea a day is very cancer protective. Vitamin D, I already told you how important that is. Zinc, selenium, vitamin E, the gamma in particular. When that whole vitamin E scare came out, they were looking at synthetic vitamin E's, and they said, oh, don't take so much, and this is going on. Well, they were looking at what's called a meta-analysis. They took all these studies, whatever ones they wanted, and they kind of put it into, oh, this is what it is. But they didn't also say that they were looking at synthetic E's, and they were looking at not the entire portion of E. So in E, there is the gamma, alpha, delta, beta forms of vitamin E, and there's also the tocotrienol part of the vitamin E. So when you look at vitamin E, you want to make sure you're taking the mixed tocopherol and mixed tocotrienols. You don't want to just take a ton of alpha, which is primarily found in our body, but you take too much of some, like alpha, it drives down gamma, which they found is very cancer protective. So that's why you want to take a mixed tocopherol, mixed tocotrienol, vitamin E. Pomegranate, too, they found to be very protective. Lycopene, salt palmetto, and xyphamen, which has in there the turmeric and oregano and holy basil and other things that are very cancer protective, inflammatory. Now it's just like, whoo. Right. Oh, I love, oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes, yes. Yeah. Well, you could take the capsules of it if you didn't want to, have it. So you have other options. Yep, we do have them by itself, or that xyphamen product actually was recommended highly by this Dr. Katz. I think he's down in New York City. He wrote, he has a website all about prostate health and prostate cancer, and he uses that with a lot of his clients. And he recommends, because it's the inflammatory, the cancer protective effects of the herbs in there, that he highly recommends that xyphamen. For prostate cancer, in the Journal of Agriculture and Food Chemistry, it was reported that pomegranates compounds may inhibit the activity of cytochrome P450, 1B1, and an enzyme known to be highly expressed in various human cancers, but not in normal tissues, and an established target in the prevention of prostate cancer. So our results indicate a previous unexplored pathway through which pomegranate juice constituents may contribute to prostate cancer chemoprevention. So pomegranate. And that's also recommended for women, too, because it's also got some natural estrogen components in there as well. Probiotics, I'm not going to go through all of these, but as I said before, they're very important for your immune system, helping detoxify harmful estrogens, metabolizing cholesterol, production of serotonin, as well as all the things that help with the bowels, which typically people associate just that with it. Yes? Well, there's two families. There's the lactobacillus family that is primarily found in the upper intestine, the small intestine, and the bifido family, they are primarily in the colon. And typically after age 50, they found in different studies that normally our flora starts to decrease, just like anything else with the CoQ10, enzymes, whatnot, that when the bifido started to decrease after age 50, that the putregenic bacteria from foods or wherever else we're getting it from increased, and right along with that they saw colon cancer went right on the rise. So if you have that in your family, colon cancer, or anybody over age 50, you will typically see the formulations having a significant amount of the bifido bacteria in there. It was fun, okay. Good. Oh, there's Oz again. But see, these good bacteria for our immune system are killed off by antibiotics, prednisone, other drugs, not to mention fluoridated, chlorinated water, pesticides, and stress. So even if you're not taking any of those meds, you're getting exposed to that stuff all the time on a minimal level, but it's continuously destroying the flora in there. Exactly. What? You mean like the fungals and the yeast and stuff? Yeah. There's fungals and yeast in there too as well. And they live in this, certain wonderful ratio, supposedly. But if you overtake any of these, like when we feed the harmful ones too much sugar and white flour, it sets up the imbalances in the system. And so yeast, fungal issues start creeping up. And so we need to then kill down, replete back in through proper diet. So there's a whole regime that we work with on that. And taking yogurt is typically not going to do that. I had a girl in just today, and she said, well, there again, she had an issue with dairy. So she said she took Activia, and she said she thought that that would help her, and she said you got massive diarrhea. And I said, well, I think that's probably because you're allergic to dairy more so than the probiotics. I haven't known probiotics to cause diarrhea. It actually helps balance. So if you've got diarrhea, it'll help offset that, or if you've got constipation, it will help regulate that. Antioxidants, very important throughout this whole thing. We've been talking about it, you know, for cancer and so all sorts of other things. Cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, kale, cabbage, cauliflower, beneficial. Here again, I got to make 2 points on this. Organic, for those top ones that are highly pesticide laden, you should have those specifically organic. If you go to the EWG.org, the Environmental Working Group, they will give you the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 on there. But also with this, they found broccoli with all the wonderful things. They couldn't even find all the health benefits on broccoli. The pages just went on and on about it. But if you put it into the microwave and then take it out, they found that what was anti-cancer became cancer-inducing, that it had carcinogenic properties on it after it was microwaved. So, you know, so just thinking about that. So there's a lot of supercritical antioxidants you can take through supplements. Zyflamen, they already talked a little bit about all the benefits of that. Mariva, that's a specific turmeric that actually is bound to phosphatidylserine or choline, actually. It helps make it 20 times more absorbable because typically, if you're just eating it by the self, like you were saying, the spice, apparently it doesn't get absorbed all that well as far as if you're looking really therapeutically using it. It's good to use all these things dietarily for sure, but certain things need others to help pull it into the cells. So these are just some of the books that I referenced, the Sinatra Solution, the Cholesterol Myths, the Mood Cure, Food and Mood, Stress, Anxiety, Insomnia. That's Michael Murray who spoke on the other night about sleep. And then Michael Murray's got a great website. He's got some other good books there too. Some cited information. So live life in a way that improves your health as best as possible. I think that's, you know, everyone's goal. They want to live as long and healthy as possible. So here's my information. Oops, I forgot to take Carol's off there. But thank you for attending. So